We're learning a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991 on these two portions. This week, this week we have a double Torah portion, Tazria Matzor, and so it was also in 1991. And the Rebbe is now talking about this. Okay, Tazria Matzora, the titles of these two Torah portions that we're reading have almost nothing to do with their content. Right? Tazria is a good thing. When a woman gives birth, that's the title. That's the title. But the content is Mitzora, is this spiritual leprosy, if you want to call it, even though it's not really a proper word, but there's, for lack of a better word. So it's the title is a good thing, but the content is something terrible. On the other hand, the second portion that we read this week, Mitzora is talking about something terrible. That's the disease. That's this leprosy disease. But the content is talking about how you get cured from it. Okay, so the Rebbe is going to talk about this and what it means to us, especially. Now, just one more thing. Nowadays, we don't have this Mitzora. We don't have this spiritual leprosy anymore. It wasn't really a disease as such. You couldn't treat it in any physical way, in any medicine or anything like that. It was totally a spiritual thing, and the treatment was that a person had to repent. And it was caused by, it says, by harmful speech, by saying things which were, negative about others, harmful, things that could harm other people. Speaking, Lashon Hara, it's called. Okay. Behemshech lemedubar, continuing what we said lately, the Rebbe is talking about. That every person has to do, every Jew has to do everything that he can to bring the Mashiach. Actually, immediately. All right, so I know we've said this a lot of times before, but it can't be said enough. The purpose of creating the world was to bring Mashiach. The purpose of Judaism is to bring Mashiach. The reason God gave the Torah was to bring Mashiach. And the first of the 10 commandments is that I am God that took you out of Egypt. This is a very essential aspect of Judaism. And God is telling us this now, even though God did not take me out of Egypt. God took the Jews out of Egypt 3,000 years ago. So what do we care if, why is that the first of the 10 commandments? That God took us out of Egypt. Is coming to tell us now that it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And the Egypt that we're going to go out of is not going to be a physical place. First of all, Egypt of today is nothing like the Egypt that it was back then. But the word Egypt means limitations, false limitations. And that God is going to take us out, and it's going to be even bigger miracles than that. Because then, how do they say the saying that God took us out of Egypt, but he didn't take the Egypt out of the Jews? He took the Jews out of Egypt, but he didn't take the Egypt out of the Jews. The Jews, when they got out of Egypt, they wanted to keep going back. They wanted to go back to Egypt, and the first chance they had, when Moses wasn't with them, they worshipped the golden calf, and they made rebellions against Moses. They didn't want to go into the land of Israel. Because Jews enjoy being in Egypt. Jews don't want to leave Egypt. They want to live their comfort zone. We're normal people like everybody else. We want nothing to do with this whole business of going out of Egypt and being special people and being chosen and being all this. We don't want to, even if you're religious people, you want to stay where you are. Right? I'm religious, I'm doing the Torah, the commandments, that's enough to be satisfied. People want to be satisfied. They want to rest. Huh? People want to be rested. They get easy. And going out of Egypt means you should never rest. You should always constantly be striving to be more truthful spiritually and to manifest that truth physically. Learn more Torah, do more commandments, give more charity, etc. To constantly go out of Egypt, to want to come closer and closer to the infinite. That's what Mashiach is going to do. Just like Moses, without Moses, the Jewish people, they would have never left Egypt. As it was, 4/5 didn't want to leave. And the ones that left wanted to keep going back. Like I say, and as soon as Moses wasn't there, they thought Moses wasn't going to come back. He went up on Mount Sinai. They worshiped the golden calf. Exactly what everybody heard God say don't do, they all did, either passively or actively. You have to have a Moses in order to take the Jews out of Egypt, to keep the Jews, how do you say, moving in the right direction. And this is what Mashiach is going to do. He's going to change the whole priorities and the whole, the goals of all mankind. Going to make everybody human again. Not like Adam was in Gan Eden, heaven, before he ate the tree. That's what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they came to do, to bring back humanity to feel that they're really in the image of God. And God never stops. God is always dynamic. What example of this is King David? It says King David never slept. He only slept 30 breaths or something like that at a time. Never. Talk about years. Never left. Moses, the same thing, right? The most dynamic people in the world. You feel God, you don't rest. You're happy with it. By the way, these are nice pictures. These are pictures of Baruch Nachshon. You can look it up. You can buy them. You think you can buy them online. Baruch Nachshon. He got big blessings from the Rebbe also. He passed away, I think, 5 years ago? He used to live in Hebron. Beautiful. It doesn't really depict the colors. He was a genius in color. His colors, they came out so brilliant. He was a brilliant artist. Wonderful man also. Okay, anyway, these are the pictures. They put them over here. Okay, well, let's go. So what are we going to do? Mashiach is going to come as a human being, and amazingly, it depends on not like Moses. Moses, God just sent him. Even though the Jewish people, the suffering of the Jewish people was a big factor in Moses coming. But by us, we have to do things to bring Mashiach. Mashiach for sure is going to come. But our work and our what's called tshuva, our returning to our Jewish senses, will bring the Mashiach faster. Now, the one big element of Mashiach, I don't want to make too much of the introduction, is not to overdo it, but what can I do? One big aspect of Mashiach is that the world is going to be healthy. The world will be a healthy place. Now, there's so much war and pestilence and things like that, which come from, it's people not trusting God. They don't trust God. People think they have to steal, they have to amass fortunes, of money and not give it to anybody. Not be charitable at all. Not to share the guilt. According to Judaism, capitalism is the economic system. There's supposed to be rich people and there's supposed to be poor people. But the rich people are supposed to give charity to the poor people. That's the way it's supposed to be. The rich people are there are people that are meant to be rich. There are people that are meant to be poor, but it's not meant to stay that way. The essence of creation is free will. Free will. Use your free will. And people are supposed to use their free will to realize that the money they have was only given to them by God, that they should give to the poor people, not that God should give it. That was one of the big faults of communism, that there was no charity. The government took care of everything. And that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, people will feel more generous. People will feel more love. Love, that's the big word. They'll feel how much God loves us, and people will come to love others, and they won't think about themselves so much. There won't be any more cruelty or aggression or depression or addictions and all these selfish things. Okay. So we have to do everything we can in order to bring Mashiach. Mashiach is going to make the world aware of God, how good God is, how much God loves us. That's why I say the Jewish people we're the chosen people. The Jewish people were chosen to tell the world how much God loves them. He's creating them, provides for them. Mashiach has to come immediately. It'll be a person just like Moses, and it'll change everybody. We can't even since now. Maimonides has the qualifications of who Mashiach is going to be. all the qualifications. The Lubavitcher Rebbe fits all of these qualifications. All of it. The Mashiach can, yes, come from the dead. It says that in the Talmud he can come from the dead. So dying, that Mashiach doesn't disqualify Mashiach. Okay, let's go. Kaven since in our days, this is the end of the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan is in this year that the Rebbe was speaking was Tafshin Nun Aleph, which is the year which is the initials were a year of Niflot, Nun Aleph, Niflot Ereno. I will show you miracles. Says the Rebbe, Kula Kola Kitzim. All of the projected times when Mashiach is supposed to come have already ended. This was said in the Talmud like 1,000, whatever it is, 800 years ago. All the projected times when Mashiach is supposed to come have already passed. If Mashiach comes right now, he's already 1,000 years late. And for sure he's going to come. Doesn't mean that that's it. We missed the bus and it's not going to come. They closed the line, right? Mashiach is for sure going to come. It says, but when? It says there's already Ketze Yamim. Ketze Yamin. Ketze Yamim says the end of all bad and the beginning of all good. Kepeshuto Mamish. Ubavare certainly should take it from Miyad that immediately will Mashiach should come right now. Kol echad ve'echad, and each person will show with his finger and say, Hine, that's the Mashiach. Shekavar Bo, that he's already here, but Rega Shalifnei Rega Zeb, in moment, one instant, he's already here. Yesh Leber, we have to explain, the Rebbe explains in another place that from the time Mashiach comes until the third temple will be built, could be 24 minutes. 24 minutes. Why? Because it says that there's one opinion that Kohanim, that priests, nowadays, they cannot drink wine. Why can't they drink wine today? Because any moment the temple is going to come, and it takes at least minimum 24 minutes for wine to wear off. So if they're called to serve in the temple and they're drunk, they can't do it. So therefore, they can't drink wine even now, because it'll be less than 24 minutes. The temple will be here and they'll have to come in. So if so, the effect, the work of each one of the Jewish people bringing the redemption, what can we do now on this Shabbos? Because Mashiach can come also on Shabbos. It says in the Talmud, Mashiach is not going to come on certain dates, whatever it is. And the Rebbe says it's not so. Mashiach can come on all those dates when it says in the Talmud that he can't come. And Mashiach will explain what it meant in the Talmud. He'll explain how it was. In any case, Mashiach has to come right now, says the Rebbe. First of all, B'inyan Torah, doing Torah relevant to this day, learning the Torah portion of the week, including also this that we begin to read in Mincha. Excuse me, that's Achrei Mot. We'll talk about that in the course of this class. Maybe we'll see the next class. Became also Pirkei Avot of Shabbat Kodesh. There's a custom to read every Shabbat, near the end of Shabbat, what's called the chapters of the fathers. One chapter, there's 6 chapters, and they read one chapter for every week from now until Passover. There's 7 weeks, so we read one chapter a week. The last couple of weeks we read 2. And there's some people, Chabad also does, that they read until Yom Kippur, until Rosh Hashanah. They read Pirkei Avot every Shabbat. These are messages, the lessons, life lessons. For okay, and also the time, relevant to all the month, rather relevant to the days of Sfirat HaOmer. We're talking now. We talked about Sfirat HaOmer before. Okay, let's go. We're going to learn Torah. We're going to talk about the relevance of this week's Torah portion, and the day of the week, and the day of the Sfira, and also of the Pirkei Avot to Mashiach. Let's start from the beginning. What is this week's Torah portion that we're learning? This Torah reading is called Tazria Matzora. This especially stresses the idea of the Geula, Mashiach, and the redemption that he will bring. Tazria is saying when a woman gives seed and gives birth to a male. Gives birth. If you do it like it's known, the Leda, the birth, is talking about the redemption. The Geula. Mashiach is going to bring about a state in the world of a birth. Kamosh Katuv, Yolda Tzion et Banel, that Tzion gave birth to her children. Leida's Zachar, giving birth to a male child. That's this how it begins. If a woman gives seed and she gives birth to a male, then the law is like this. There's a certain amount of time that she can't go to the holy temple. If she gives birth to a female, then the law is like this. It starts off with giving birth to a male. This hints at male, masculine, shows on power. The power of Geula Mitit Veshlema, a powerful redemption in the future. Like I said, Geula means freedom. You're free from all of your false limitations. All of your potential can be revealed. Geula Nitzitz, an eternal revelation, she'ein achareh, that there's not after it any redemption. Alidei Mashiach. Hainu she'yolda zachar. That's what's talking about. The future redemption is going to be like a male child is born. Romans alei, that is talking about birth of the Mashiach. She'i, which is a highest level of birth, me'alma the duchra, that comes from the language, from the land, from the level of masculinity. Okay, what's going on? This is not, what's this called, anti-women or something. God is always referred to as masculine. Is always referred to as masculine. Sometimes the Shekhinah, God's presence, is feminine. God is referred, if you look at the book, the book which is called the Song of Songs, right? 8 chapters written by King Solomon. Song of Songs. Sometimes God is feminine, sometimes God is masculine. But all the time in a prayer book, it's always masculine. God is always masculine. Baruch atah. We don't say Baruch at. Masculine. Why is God always masculine? Why is God always masculine? Because Judaism explains, and also in the world, the yin and the yang, there's the giving aspect and the receiving aspect. That's how the world works. That's how the heart works. That's how the lungs work, right? The lungs receive air, then they give out to the rest of the body. The heart receives the old blood, the young blood receives nourishment. But anyway, receiving and giving. That's how the whole world goes, receiving and giving. Why? Because that's the way God set up the world, and that's what God is also. God is the giver. God gives all the time. He creates all the time, just giving. That's the masculine aspect. The feminine aspect is receive. Mother Earth just receives. But all the time receives. True, the earth also brings forth trees and everything, but the main aspect of the earth is that it has nothing of its own. It receives. It receives the seed. It receives fertilization. It receives whatever it is, water. So we say Mashiach is going to be masculine. Why is it masculine? Because he gives birth. He causes the world. He makes big changes in the world. In more detail, a woman, when she gives birth, this woman is the Jewish people. This is talking about the service of the Jewish people. We're the woman. In the time of exile, that we are compared to a planting of a seed. The Jewish people are planted in the exile. Right? You take a seed, you put it into the ground. What happens is you lose the seed. It's hidden. You can't see it anymore. And when it's in the ground, what happens is it rots, it breaks open. The seed loses its identity. But from that grows out a whole new tree, which contains in it thousands of seeds, right? And each fruit is thousands of seeds. Okay, so the Jewish people are compared to a seed. They are being planted in exile, like it's in exile. Like it says, Zarati li ba'oretz, I have planted them in the land. Aboim yishresh Yaakov, that they will be, Jacob says, were planted in Egypt. The exile in Egypt was planted. The Jewish people planted. Al Yidei Yisrael, by means of planting the Jews and doing our service all the time of exile, there comes immediately Hatzmichat starts to grow up. Yatzitz u'farach Yisrael, then there starts to grow up and flower the Jewish people. That's the redemption. The true redemption by means of the Mashiach. That there's not after it, there won't be any more exile afterwards. That's what's called Leda Zachar. It'll be a powerful redemption, not like going out of Egypt. When we went out of Egypt, afterwards there was exiles. The first temple was destroyed. The second temple was destroyed. And the third temple by Mashiach, it won't be. It'll be a powerful, that's called male, just giving. That's the first portion we learn. The second portion we learned this week is Metzora. Metzora, like it says in the Gemara, what's going to be the name of the Mashiach? Right? It was in Sanhedrin, right? Where is it? 15? Sanhedrin. In Sanhedrin, in 98, page 98, there's a whole couple pages about Mashiach. That's where also the idea of Mashiach can come from the dead. It'll be like Daniel. Different aspects of the Mashiach. The Mashiach is already late. It says all the ends have already been projected. And so it says the name of the Mashiach is called Chivra Debe Rabbi. Remember, we learned in the Maimer just now in Torah or in the Lukuti Torah that white discoloration indicates leprosy. So it says the Mashiach is going to be called the white one, the leper, in the house of Rebbe. Metzora, the leper in the house of Rebbe. Like it says, Achen Chalinu Hunasa, that says that our suffering, our what is this? Our disease, he bore umachovenu, and our pain he suffered. And we considered him to be a leper, muka, and rejected him. My simani, what's it? This is obviously King David. My simani, what's it talking about? Yosef bene ane, he sits among the poor people, v'sovel chaloim, and he suffers their diseases. It's a story in the Talmud also over there that he one second. Yeah, the same thing, Sanhedrin. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, he used to see Elijah the prophet all the time. Elijah the prophet used to come to him regularly. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And he said, I want to meet the Mashiach. I want to ask the Mashiach when he's going to come. So Elijah the prophet said, okay. He's sitting among the lepers, among the sick people. It says by the gates of Rome, wherever it says, he's sitting by the gate. And you can go and meet him. You can know, how am I going to know who he is? Said all the other lepers, they have one big bandage that they put on them. And he has a lot of little bandages, and he removes them one at a time and cleans them. He's suffering. They're all suffering these terrible diseases and whatever it is, boils, whatever they are. But he does it one at a time, so that if he's announced that he has to come, and now it's the time to redeem the Jewish people, as he doesn't have to put all of the bandages around, right? You can just put one, just put the one back. And so it shows that he's going to be suffering. In any case, it says he's going to be a leper. The Pratius Motor, it says, like it says, Zotiet Tzorat HaMetzora, that's what it says. This is the law of the Metzora, leper. Like I said, the word leper is without, there's no better word that you can use, but it's not leprosy in the normal sense. Anyway, the law of the Metzora, when he becomes pure, until Shenogim Likros Parshas, it's called Parshas Tahora. Parshas Metzora is talking about how the purification of the leprosy. Shemetzora hu shemo shel Mashiach, that the leper is the name of the Mashiach in the time of exile. That even though on his own he is completely pure, says Yaschil of the Yom Benisa B'Mogbod, says the Mashiach will be, consider my servant elevated, exalted, high, and superior very much. Nevertheless, it says the Mashiach will suffer, and it'll have pain from the exile. The Jewish people are in exile. He has pain from that. So when he becomes refined, when he becomes purified, he becomes cured from his leprosy. This is talking about the Mashiach when he reveals himself and redeems the Jewish people and frees them from their exile in the future redemption. So if so, we see that the Torah portion hints at Mashiach. Tazria is the planting of the Jewish people in exile and how they will grow up. And Metzor is talking about the Mashiach himself will take the Jewish people out of exile, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know, maybe we can do a little more. I'll do a little more. What do you say? Yeah, a little more. Let's go. Tzorech Lab, we have to understand. Hakesha, the connection between these two, Tazria and Metzora, that in many, many years they're read together. This year we read them together. At first glance, the word Tazria means on itself giving birth. A woman, she gives seed and she gives birth. And Tazria, when she gives seed, then she gives birth. This shows on the redemption. The Jewish people are redeemed. They go out of exile. And the second portion that we read this week is called Metzora. This is talking about the opposite of being pure. This is a leper. You have to do all these special things in order to purify him. This indicates on the leper is in pain and difficulty of exile. How can we join these two things together? Tazria seems to mean good, going out of exile. And Metzora means going into exile. So first of all, they're in the wrong order. It should be, first of all, Metzora, that should be the exile. That's the leper. And Tazria is giving birth. That should be the other way. But in any case, how can you join the two together? Tazria is the best of the best, redemption. And Metzora is the worst of the worst. How does exactly stick together? Number one question. Number two, and this is the main question, regarding to the continuation, the content of the Torah portion, Tazria, which we said is something good, giving birth, and Metzora, which is bad, that means disease. But each one contains exactly the opposite of its title. After this says that a woman, when she gives birth, then it's talking about the future redemption that's not afterwards. So it's not relevant to say Metzora, that's talking about the exile. And similarly, in each one of these two Torah portions itself, right? So they're in the wrong order. Question number one, what have they got to do with each other? Exile and redemption. Number two, they're in the wrong order. It should be, first of all, exile and then redemption. But the Torah portions are Tazria, that's redemption, that's the birth. And the exile is first. Also, in each Torah portion itself, so it says, similarly, in each one of these two Torah portions, the title is the opposite of its content. In Tazria, which talks about redemption of the woman, the Jewish people are redeemed, the woman when she gives birth to a male. The continuation of it is talking about the laws of leprosy. This shows on exile. And in Parshas Metzora, that it starts off with a bad note. Metzora means leprosy, which that indicates on the exile. But the content of it is the curing of the leper. The Torah Metzora b'yom taroto. This shows on the redemption. At first glance, since that the name of the Torah portion, the title of something, should indicate the content, so it would be more fitting that the Torah portion that talks about leprosy should have the name Metzora. And the Torah portion that talks about curing leprosy, that should be called Tazria by a good name. It all seems to be mixed up, the Torah portion and the content of it and the order of them. The Torah portion, that first of all comes the redemption and afterwards comes the exile. Final question. Similarly, the name of Mashiach. Since the Mashiach is going to be the redeemer of the Jewish people, then why do we stress that the Mashiach, which shows who the Mashiach is, why is he called the leper? Mashiach is called a leper. Okay, maybe for a while he was, but that's not the main thing of Mashiach. The main thing of Mashiach is not that he suffers. The main thing of Mashiach is that he gathers the Jewish people together, builds the temple. The world becomes a healthy, happy place. Why do we call Mashiach Metzora? This and more we will discuss tomorrow.